Get into it. You got the Eagles second, officially running it back. I got them number one.
Wow.
They should be atop the tiers. And the reason why I say this is because I love the nameplate, officially running it back. Even with being on a bye week, they won week 9.
Wow.
They got to win week 9 because of what they were doing and what they acquired defensively, the depth that they put on that roster. Love what Howie Roseman does. You talked about the other day, Jerry Jones not having a plan. This is a team that has always had a plan, and they continue to retool and show us why that plan works. The last time we saw this team play, we saw Saquon, we saw that offense, we saw that running game get reestablished. They did not have A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts still threw for 4 touchdowns. They were spreading the ball around. And then you go in week 9, when you're off, players, you take a rest, we're going to still work as management. We're going to improve our roster. We're going to hold on to a guy who we feel we can't win without this year. We'll see what happens in the offseason. But right now, you can't tell me this team isn't the best team in football. And you look at their schedule, it suggests that. When you look at who they've been able to play already and get wins with, the Kansas City Chiefs check that box. The Rams check that box. The Bucks, who you really like, you got them representing the NFC, check that box. And if you keep going down, well, we know who they got Monday night at Lambeau against the Green Bay Packers. We'll see what happens there. And you got the team that's ahead of them coming in week 17. We'll see if they check that box. But for right now, with the moves that they have decided to make, yes, they are running it back, but they found who they really are, and they are loving it because they can run the football. Yes, it was against the Giants, a team 2 weeks before they played them last. They could not run the football at all. I like the direction they're going. The fan base is going to be excited. We'll see what they end up doing in the second half of the year.
Yeah, listen, I don't take any major issue with any of what you said. If I have them by themselves in second, you obviously make a case by themselves in first. I guess the one distinction I would make is this. I thought that, so their common opponent, if you will, with Buffalo is Kansas City. The Bills got Kansas City in their building. They got Kansas City on the road.
Correct.
But they faced a Kansas City team that had Worthy and Rice. They faced a Kansas City team without either. And I think the Bills dominated that game more than Philly did. But I'm not really arguing it. Like, you make a strong case. I think right now I think Buffalo's the best team, but it's by the slimmest of margins.
I mean, using the common team argument, really, that really doesn't hold a whole lot of weight to me. Especially if they both played each other later in the season, sure. But this is like week 2. Eagles still figuring a lot of stuff out. I think the Eagles are still in the process of figuring stuff out, which I think is, it's okay considering the circumstances that they're under, where they just won a Super Bowl. They had to move some pieces around, had to hire a new offensive coordinator and all of that. But now, we're obviously going into week 10, 11, 12 and beyond. And it is interesting when you look at this schedule because the Packers and the Lions, those really are the 2 most important games left on this schedule. It's not. Once upon a time, it would have been the Commanders would have been up there. That's obviously not the case. The Bills, by week 17, again, listen, these later games are going to be important just from a seeding standpoint to a degree, but like it just doesn't really matter if they get blown out by the Bills. Like, you're not gonna be like, oh man, I guess they're not a Super Bowl team now. Like, it just doesn't really matter, honestly, from my viewpoint, especially that late in the season, unless it's like comes down to like a gotta have it moment. But it's seemingly the Eagles, the only gotta have it moment that they have later in the season will be like, are you competing for the 1 seed? And I guess maybe if you're in a position where it's like the 2 or the 3, you still want that to have some sort of home field advantage if another team loses, like what happened last season with the Lions and all of that. But it's just different energy than if you're competing with, like, say, the Commanders for the division or something, or a true 1 seed and a first round bye. But that's why the Packers and the Lions games are so important, because you separate yourselves from just a win-loss, from just a sheer win-loss perspective, but then as well as like protecting yourself against any tiebreakers or any of that type of stuff. Obviously a win against the Packers is a loss for the Packers, so it's and you get that extra swing. Same thing with the Lions, get that extra swing there. So that goes a long way. And then I do think, you guys know I'm always a fan of like the whole barometer games and trying to figure out where you are. And so I do think it's fair that the Bills and the Chiefs played each other and they kind of now have a sense of who they are. And it's just different for me when you're talking that early on in the season, like week 2, week 3. Like it's just too early for me personally. And so that's why playing the Packers and the Lions at this point, like, yeah, that to me is a clearer barometer than playing the Chiefs and the Rams in weeks 2 and 3. That's just the way how my mind works, and just the way how we saw even the Eagles kind of develop their I don't want to say identity, but just their flow, the way how they're trying to get these games to unfold. My biggest issue with the Eagles is not trying to be like, are they the best team or are they not the best team? You guys also know that I only care so much about trying to really drill down who's the best team in the NFL. Like that rarely matters to me. To me, the only true question mark is Kevin Patullo, is the offensive coordinator. That to me is just the true question mark. That's it. That's if they were running this back and it was Kellen Moore and whatnot, you'd have confidence. Or if they even just had another more established offensive coordinator who you could have a lot of confidence that any of the problems, even if they had the exact same problems that they had earlier on in the season, you would have faith and trust. Okay, they're working on figuring this out. They're working how to get the O-line right. Get AJ and whatever it may be. And you don't have that level. You're not going to have that level of confidence right now with Kevin Patullo. He has to earn it. He has to prove his worth. That's what it comes down to. And so that is something that you have to continue to see that unfold. And the first true opportunity to prove that is going to be against the Packers, and then against the Lions. It wasn't against the Giants. It wasn't against the Vikings. Wasn't against the Broncos, the Bucks, it wasn't in any of those games. The only moment that I really felt like, whoa, okay, Kevin Patullo, like I like what you're doing, start to finish, was against the Giants. It wasn't against the Vikings. The Vikings, that was more Jalen Hurts and Devontae from my viewpoint. Also some great defense. And we saw moments. I loved some of the play calling, some of the play designs with Dallas Goedert. I think it was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when we saw some of that, like some of the red zone plays and some of the plays specifically with Dallas, honestly, a lot of times. Dallas Goedert, I really liked. And I'm like, okay. And there is this sense that maybe Ken Patullo is a lot better than me and lots of other people in the comment section have kind of aired out. That the problem was that they can't get the O-line hasn't been good enough, so they can't get the run game going. And there's only so much you can do sometimes in those situations, especially if you're a younger offensive coordinator and not, significantly established. And so there is that sense of like, what if they can reliably get the run game going? What if they can reliably get Jalen some protection? Does Kevin Patullo turn into like a really sharp offensive coordinator? I think that's totally on the table. So I'm excited also after a bye. Like what teams do is they audit themselves. They really, it's the only time that they really get the chance to be like, okay, look, let's look and see at everything we just did over these last 8 weeks or so. We get to really look at ourselves on film because we're not preparing immediately for the next team, and we get to audit. We get to figure out what's working, what's not working, what changes do we need to do. You're having conversations with the players and other coaches, and you really kind of get in the lab and try to figure stuff out. So I'm excited to see what comes out of the bye just in general. Now they have a tough opponent. I know the Packers, have had a somewhat inconsistent season so far, but they're still obviously going to be competitive. They're obviously still tough. It's at Green Bay, right? So Lambeau, so that'll be probably a pretty. It's Monday night too, so it's going to be a pretty intense environment. So yeah, I mean the Packers are favored 2.5, which I suppose is probably fair if it's at home for them. But I mean, yeah, this is the season starts now in a lot of ways. Nick always takes it too far to the extreme where he's like, the season doesn't start until the AFC Championship game or whatever the heck he always says. To me right now, it's like all that other stuff was nice. Jalen Hurts, you guys know I praised the Minnesota Vikings game and all that type of stuff. Beating the Rams, the blocked field goals, beating the Chiefs and the Bucks, and like all that stuff is great. 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 It officially no longer matters from my viewpoint. You're past the bye. You got this next stretch of games. A couple of them are really, really important, specifically these next 2 ones. Maybe the Cowboys kind of make a run. It's still going to be a divisional game. It's still going to be on Dallas, so it's still going to be a little weird too. But like these next 2 games are truly, truly matter. And then, listen, we'll see how healthy are the Chargers. No idea. The Bears they've just kind of been the Bears. The Raiders, I'm sorry, I'm not fearing the Raiders. The Commanders, week 16, 18, like maybe Jaden's back. If Jaden is back, I don't know why he would even play. Just shut him down, lose as many games as you can, get a top pick, and, continue to rebuild around Jaden. Like, even if Jaden could play, I don't know why you'd even ask him to play. It wouldn't even make any sense. So, like, there's a lot of wins there still. There's a lot of wins there. You take care of the Packers and the Lions, like, you then have the opportunity to, drop a weird random divisional game against maybe Marcus Mariota, maybe Dak, it'll be okay. The Raiders, and I don't know. There's just, you're really setting yourself up. You're really setting yourself up for the number 1 seed at a minimum, number 2 seed. So, and I do think the seeding this year matters a little bit more than I'm usually the type of person that doesn't care as much about the whole home, away, and this, that. We've seen it go in every direction, and you're either a great team or you're not. But I do think the seeding is valuable this time, not even necessarily because of the home team, but because I think there's going to be a couple of these random teams that are actually pretty competitive that, you don't want to have to maybe face in the wild card round, or you don't want to have to face, earlier on, that it's just, it kind of protects you a little bit, like how the Commanders took down the Lions. I'm positive we'll see a random situation like that, especially in the AFC. I would not be surprised. It's like if the Ravens sneak into the playoffs, and if they're able to sneak on by, it's like, you don't necessarily want to be the 2 seed facing them, honestly, because they're significantly better. You're not really getting like an easy lower seed team. You're getting a tougher team. And that's why the Lions were like, we need to do reseeding. They were the ones that tried to put forward, like, we need to redo the seeding, like, after the every round, or whatever the heck they tried to bring to try to change the structure of it all. And so I do think that could come into effect this season, honestly, where you're facing a lot more competitive of a team than you would maybe typically would as, in the wild card round, or even divisional round, depending on obviously how the wild card round unfolds. So I do think having a bye, I do think after you just came off winning a Super Bowl, a lot of wear and tear, coming away with a bye is important. That's just where my mind goes when we're talking about post-bye. How great are they? How not? Are they the 1 or the 2? Like, it doesn't matter to me right now. You bring up that schedule, you see that there's plenty of wins out there, and now it's time to take care of business, right? Like, this is the season starts now again, and you're going up against the Green Bay Packers. That's what it becomes about. Honestly, that's what it becomes about. You're facing you faced, arguably outside of Seattle, the teams that you're going to have to beat to get to the Super Bowl. The Rams, the Bucks, the Lions, the Packers, and then again Seattle, and I'm probably forgetting another team. Can't think of one off the top of my head, but that's where it's at. That's what you're looking at. So keep checking those boxes, and figure out how to reliably and consistently, in the best way, to beat a team like the Packers, to beat a team like the Lions. So when you do face them in the playoffs, you're not just guessing. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think the Eagles should be the number 1 team according to Nick's tiers? How do you feel about this schedule coming up? How do you feel confident that they figured stuff out, especially after beating the Vikings and the Giants? Or do you still think there's kind of this wiggle room for some struggles or some issues, whether it be roster, coaching, Kevin Patullo? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.